Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meaningful Marketer podcast. I'm Mia, and this is Grace. And we each week have cozy marketing chats where we talk about how we can bring marketing back to what it should be about, which is community and connection. How do we connect better with ourselves and other people through things like social media, email marketing? So that way, what we're doing in our business, it can not only generate revenue, but it can feel purposeful and we can feel safe showing up in our business and on our socials and all of the things. We believe that it's not just about money. That's a great thing that we need, but that is a result of putting people first and prioritizing community and connection. So this week, we're talking about the real reason why you're not showing up on social media. This is from our personal experience and from what we have seen clients struggle the most with over the years of working with other people on social media. And we have narrowed it down, we think, to what the real reason people are not showing up is and what we can do about that. So by the end of this, you're going to leave with some actionable steps that you can start right now that are going to help fuel you so you can show up the best you can be on your socials and build the business of your dreams. So a lot of the time, whenever we dive into social media and we're struggling, the first thing we go do is we're looking at all the guru pages and everything like that. And we're looking for the next system or the next hack. And we're just like, gosh, if I could figure the algorithm out, gosh, if I could just find the system that works for me.
Right.
And we're disappointed over and over and over again, and maybe even investing money in things that end up not being the fix. And it's because we haven't addressed the root of the problem. And a lot of the time, the root of it goes back to connecting with yourself and with your mental health.
Yes.
And I know you might be like, what the heck does that have to do with social media other than I think we all know social media can be horrible for your mental health if you're spending too much time on it. But there is so much more to it.
Yeah.
To showing up on social media, whether you're scrolling all the time or not, or you're just showing up, there's so much more to your business and your marketing and your social media that ties into your mental health. Because if you are not connecting with yourself and you are not in a good place mentally, you're not going to be able to show up joyful and share your magic. You're actually going to do the opposite. You're not going to show up at all most of the time, where you're going to be very inconsistent. Not because you don't have the right system, not because you need the next hack, because you feel afraid of being seen, being heard. You feel afraid of showing up as you are and sharing your unique magic with everybody. And you're falling into these norms and these molds and these hacks and everything that everyone else is doing. And really, at the end of the day, what is going to help you connect deeper with people, build the community of your dreams, and all of that is feeling safe, showing up just as you are, just as
Sure.
you. And to do that, we have to connect with ourselves again.
Yeah.
This has been a huge struggle for me because I feel like I have to fit a mold. I have to do all the right hacks. And this is as somebody who, we're professionals. We work in this field every day. We've worked in social media for years and in small business for years. And we coach clients on this. And it's so much easier to see where other people are struggling and be able to link your arm in theirs and be like, here's the way we're going, than it is for yourself. It's so much more personal for yourself. When you are thinking about these things and doing these things, you're not only dealing with the logical solutions, but you're dealing with the emotions that go with whatever you're dealing with. And that is something that's happened for me personally, because in working in social media and working in marketing, there's often this huge pressure of things needing to be a certain way, or the perception people have of how professional you are, and all of these things that I have really struggled over my time and us trying to build our personal brand of showing up authentically and sharing from the heart, being myself, because I'm not only dealing, like I said, with, I know that this is the right way to do things, or this is how I would tell a client to do things because it works, but I'm dealing with the emotional battle that goes on with that. I'm dealing with, when I close my computer for the day, the problems and the insecurities that creep up as I'm laying in bed at night, and those are the things that start to creep in that keep you from showing up as your authentic self, which is not only going to keep you from showing up at all, but it's also going to keep you from sharing your magic with everyone, which is what we really need. And a lot of the time we're not connecting with people because we're not sharing authentic to us. And that's what's going to connect with people. But I would say, my biggest struggle, I would say, is I overthink it. I try to fit into, a mold or a hack and try to make things fit a certain way. And a lot of the time when I have like original ideas
Mhm.
or thoughts, really like personal thoughts, I end up feeling embarrassed about them or like no one else is going to think the same way as me or people are going to think I'm stupid or it feels cringy. The other night I was like laying in bed and I had these thoughts about life and just thoughts about how important it is that we get our art out there, like whatever that may be. That may not be art is in the sense of like a painting or, something like that. It may be something else and how you bring your business apart. And I was thinking about all this and just how it's so important and how doing that, even when you don't think it's making a difference, how it can make a huge difference on someone's life. Just being true to yourself and sharing your unique art with the world. And I was like in teary about it in bed before I was like going to sleep at night. And I woke up the next morning. I had all these ideas before I went to bed of what I wanted to share with people about, yeah, just how I wanted to share my heart with people on this topic. And I woke up the next day and I felt, oh, I don't know, that's cringy. That's, this, and this. And so, yeah, I would say that's my biggest struggle. A lot of the time I have these moments where I feel very connected with myself and I feel very much like I have this great idea and all of that. And then if I give myself too much time to overthink it, then I end up going, I don't know, that's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's maybe too cringy or too personal, or nobody else is going to think the same way I do.
right.
And so to be very vulnerable, that's a struggle I have. And that keeps me from making genuine good content, not content that I go and like, oh, here's this little tip or trick that you can use,
Yeah,
a hack or whatever, but content that's really real, raw, and from the heart. And that's probably going to make a bigger difference to
yeah,
business owners than something that I go and try and doctor up and plan, a
right.
certain way. What would you say is your biggest struggle, Bryce?
I think it's very much in line with what you said. I think the imposter syndrome is something that you just have to get over because there's a lot of little tips and tricks that we do every day or things that are a part of our system that we might think are too silly to share. Like, no one's going to care about this, or I'm sure everyone already knows how to do this thing. That's actually that makes great content. And you'd be surprised. You convince yourself that everybody else does things the same way that you do. And that's just really not true. I've encouraged a lot of clients to do that. I remember we worked with somebody who was like a seamstress, and I'm like, "Well, you should just make a video of your process and share like a sewing tip or trick." And she's like, "It's basic. I can't do anything crazy with sewing. That's just basic stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, but you have no idea what might be buried in there in your process that is second nature to you that might be mind blowing to somebody else." So I think first you have to believe that, okay, what I have to say is like worth saying, like somebody's going to be impacted by this. And then I think that you also have to figure out how to have more fun with what you're posting. I think my biggest struggle is, again, like you said, like thinking that I have to do things a certain way or like I have to post in this certain trending format or I have to talk about these topics that are trending right now or whatever it is. That's not true. You say, like you make up the rules. You're going to have the most impact on people by being your most authentic self and talking about the things that are interesting to you. And so if you wake up completely uninspired to make your content for the day, think about what you would be inspired to make and just do that. Like it's really that easy sometimes to get yourself out of the rut and just create what feels right to you and what has been on your heart that week, maybe, or something that you've been struggling with that you want to encourage people about that week, or however that looks. Like you don't have to follow any specific plan to a T.
One thing I was thinking of the other day that I think goes along with all this is I was reading somebody's thoughts the other day about where they went wrong and, the things they did wrong along their journey. And a couple of the things, I don't know, it felt a bit discouraging to me because, it felt like, oh, well, I have this idea, but this idea might go along the same vein of where they said that they went wrong. So maybe I shouldn't go with my idea.
Yeah.
And I think something that is so important as we go on this journey to remember is that it's so great to learn from other people. And I think listen and gather information from other people and what they found that's been good and bad. But your story is unlike anyone else's. Your mistakes, everything about what you do is not going to look like everyone else's.
Yeah.
And so often we're trying to curate our story, our business, our life exactly how we've seen someone else do it. And while there is value in market research and paying attention to what works for other people, I think a lot of the time we're trying to live our life by someone else's rules.
Yeah.
And then we're wondering why we don't stand out or why we don't feel authentic showing up or why we feel scared to show up. And it's because we're trying to, position everything we're doing like all of these other people. And so as you go through this, I think one of the best things that you can do while it's so important to do market research, to pay attention to what's working, look for inspiration. I love doing stuff like that. I do think it's important. However, I think it's just as important to set yourself in an environment where it can truly be you against you in your mind, your business against your business, you
That's good.
against you. You're always doing better than you did before
Mhm.
because comparison is the thief of joy. And so often we're wasting so much of our creative energy and time we could be making content for socials playing the comparison game and worried about, well, they think, well, so and so think this is dumb, or that somebody might think this isn't a good tip, or, just all of
Yeah.
these things that both of us are talking about that we think and struggle with. That if we looked instead at this as it's us against us, like we would try and fail and learn our own way. And I think so often because we want to take shortcuts, we're trying to learn and fail everyone else's way and take shortcuts and get there the quick way. But really, how we bring what is unique to us, to the world, is we try and fail our way. Try that idea that you have that you can't stop thinking about before you go to bed at night, even if it's an idea that maybe didn't work for someone else. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work. Most of the time, it's not that deep. It's a post or something that doesn't work. And then
Yeah.
you just do another one and you learn something from it,
Yeah.
And I think we're robbing ourselves of that because we're so afraid of being seen and heard and showing up authentically to ourselves. But then when we're trying to show up other ways, it doesn't feel right. It's not getting the response we want. And it's because we're stifling that unique magic that we have in us that would actually connect with people. And that really is something that I see people so often deal with, that we deal with as clients. There's one client we work with who they were stuck at 15,000 followers for years. Years they were stuck at this. As soon as they started working with us, it wasn't just about how we were able to position their content, how we were able to look and go, ooh, let's try this, let's try that, or let's tweak this, or let's try this hack. Honestly, I think that that's a very small percentage of what has made their account grow to now over 100,000 followers. And it's because they had somebody in their corner who was saying that thing that
Mhm.
you think would be fun and cool that you're too afraid to do. No, it's good enough. Let's do it. And over time, seeing them become more confident in sharing who they really are on social media and bringing that to life, I think that's like 90% of what has made their account what it is today. And I think that it's the same for a lot of us. I think a lot of the time, strategizing everything is a small percentage of what is actually making our socials amazing. And that's why you see so many of these businesses with no marketing experience or, a marketing team who do great because
Yeah.
they've powered through that and they've let their real creativity shine and they've failed and they've learned and they've gone on their own journey and they've allowed themselves the grace and the freedom to do that. But to do that, we have to connect with ourselves first. How do we do that? So we have these 4 easy mindset cornerstones is what we call them. And then we have a little bonus thing for you. So the first thing you need to do, you need to prioritize movement. I'm not saying you need to go and become a gym junkie or whatever, you call them, whatever you would call somebody who's just all about the gym or whatever. You can tell I'm not one because I don't even know what to call it. Anyways, you don't need to go become like obsessed with fitness, but make sure you're getting movement in because that is important. That is a vital part of our bodies and us feeling fueled. A great way to do that is a walk. Make sure you're getting 8 to 10K steps in a day. It's a lot easier than you think it is. Me and Grace try to get them in because we're at the computer all the time, and there's nothing I've found that drains your creativity and energy more than sitting at a computer all day and not getting up and moving. You just feel so stuck and just it's just not nice. So the next thing is memos. So these are the 4 M's, which obviously you would see that, but the 4 M's. So the next thing is memos. And what that means is just getting your thoughts out, whether that's electronically or that's a journal, go and do that once a day. It can literally be as easy as just writing down a sentence of how you feel that day or a couple things you're thankful about, but go and get some of those thoughts out in some way, shape, or form. I do a mix of on Google Keep electronically. That's where I jot down my quick ideas. And then in the mornings, I like to journal like with a pen and paper. Grace likes pen and paper, I think you said before. So, like, whatever that looks like to you, but just get your thoughts out, get that out. So that way they're not just stuck in here. You would be surprised at how much that helps.
Yeah, clear up the real estate.
Yep, it does. It really it like makes more room in your brain. I feel like that after I'm done anyways. The next thing is meditations. So whatever that looks like for you. That could look like a, meditation, sitting, being silent for a time and focusing your intentions. That could be prayer, whatever that looks like for you as a person taking time to meditate. Again, it doesn't have to be like an hour long thing. It could be 5 minutes. It could be while you're walking
Yeah,
you're meditating, whatever that looks like, however that fits your life, but having just a little bit of quiet time. And one thing that kind of goes along with that, one thing that makes meditating or, kind of just sitting, being still so powerful is allowing yourself to be bored a little sometimes, just allowing your mind to just kind of wander and go wherever without being entertained. You
yeah.
would be surprised the
A
creativity
lost
that's going to
art.
come out when it's not influenced by anything and you are just letting your thoughts kind of go wherever they may. So much happens. Whenever I used to drive in the car all the time, it used to be such a I would get out of the car because I'd drive for 2 hours. Sometimes I wouldn't feel like listening to music, and I would get out of the car, and I'd have so many ideas. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, where did all these ideas come from?" And it's because I'm not scrolling, I'm not listening to something, I was just letting my mind just go, and it was so good. You hear when people say, "Oh, I get my best ideas in the shower,"
That's
because
say.
you're not entertaining yourself. You're just allowing your mind to wander. And
Yeah,
so that's so important. And the fourth thing is making memories. So whether that be with people you love or with yourself, but the main meat of this cornerstone here is just having time to do something you love just for the sake of loving it. Having time to do something, even if it's not productive, just because you love doing it. That is so important. If that's going to coffee with a friend, if that is reading a book, doing a painting, doing something in music, whatever that looks like, just something that feels good to do,
yeah,
whether it's going to be productive, whether it's getting you to your goals, whatever that is, just something that just makes you feel happy. And incorporating these things in daily, weekly, monthly, however that works for you, you can start small. That is over time, you're going to find that you're connecting with yourself more and more. And then through that, more creativity and ideas are happening. And if you can connect with yourself and you can appreciate yourself and appreciate the unique ideas and magic that you bring, you're going to start to feel a bit more confident showing up. You're going to become your biggest cheerleader because sometimes you don't have a marketing team to cheer on your ideas. But I
right?
truly believe we can become best friends with ourselves and our own
Yeah,
cheerleaders and, be someone to have ways to encourage ourselves to push forward. And I think that's important. I think whether you have an external support system or not, I think it's so important to find that in yourself because you're unstoppable if you can find that within
yeah,
yourself. And it's difficult, but you really are. Because then, even if your normal support system thinks what you're doing is crazy, or whatever, you can stand strong in it because you have that relationship with yourself.
yeah. That's some.
Another thing, if you want to just take an extra step is start a video diary every day. Just
Mm,
start speaking your thoughts to the camera, no pressure of it going anywhere. And that is going to start getting you more comfortable with just talking about your feelings. If you start doing that every day, you're going to start to get more confident on camera, more confident talking about your ideas. And you're also just going to be able to get that out again, kind of like journaling. All of that kind of stuff. So there really is, it's just a win win. We have clients do that. We coach people on that. Just one of the first things I would suggest to do if you are trying to figure out how to get your ideas out there, figure out how to get better on camera, is just start a video diary every day. It doesn't need to be anything big. It can be like 5 minutes in your car, and you're just talking. You're just getting your ideas out and go back and watch and see like, what did I say that sounded good, And over time, you're going to get better and better at that. So that is just something that's a really good exercise to
yeah.
do whenever you're trying to connect more with yourself and figure out how to get that out there.
You want to post every single thing that you film or whatever, like, especially in my generation anyway, that you can't ever go anywhere without like posting and making sure people know you're there or whatever. So I think getting this exercise, like you're talking about, filming yourself without the pressure of this having to immediately go anywhere and be seen by anybody, it can be really healing. And it will not only help you get like your legs under you if you're somebody who's not comfortable filming yourself. But yeah, it'll become more natural to you the more that you do it. If you take that pressure off yourself, and then you'll be surprised at how much more authentically you'll be willing to show up when you are actually posting it for people to see.
Yes, totally agree. And once you start to do these things, once you start to connect more with yourself again, and you're feeling more confident to show up, then yes, you should definitely get a system. You should definitely, look at some things that are going to help you put your social media on autopilot, that are going to take some of the decision making out so you don't have that decision fatigue. And so you can just really automate it into a smooth, oiled machine. But until you deal with that connection with yourself, that relationship with yourself, the systems are not going to fix your issue. And we have found that from experience. So, we personally, for what we do, we like to use what we call the connection cornerstones. And we actually have a whole class that is going to be coming out that walks you not only through the connection cornerstones and our personal system, but also a lot of these mental health things that you need to do along the journey of your social media. It dives deeper than just the systematic stuff, the best practices and all of that. It includes those things too, compiled from the most common questions we get from people on where they get hung up on social media things. But it takes you so much deeper than that. And so the biggest thing though is find a system that works for you, that aligns with your values and the goals of your business. So yeah, so if your values and your goals are very community driven, connection driven, you want to create those real connections online, stay tuned because we have a class that actually has a whole system, to do with that. But ultimately, whether it's ours or something else, once you have learned to connect with yourself more and you've healed that relationship with yourself, or you're on the journey of that, then look for a system that works for you, because that can really automate it and take a lot of the decision making out of it. So that is why you're actually not showing up on social media. A lot of the time, it isn't because of the hacks and you're doing the things wrong, or, you don't have the right system. A lot of the time, it's starting here. It's starting with healing that relationship with yourself so you can feel confident and you can feel safe showing up on your socials, and you can share your magic with the world. Because I'm telling you, whether it is a product, a book, a word, a song, we need to hear it.
Yes.
We need to hear it. You have no idea the amount of things that I have come in contact with that the human being who made them, who was just doing their thing, maybe something they even thought was weird, and little bits of that over time have healed me as a
Yeah.
person, and they'll never know it. They'll never realize it. But these little things where they just shared a little bit of their magic with the world became a milestone in my life, where a little piece of me was
Yeah.
healed, or that saw me through a season, saw me through a time. And you might never know it, but it's so important. And that is when the real magic happens. That is when your business connects with the right people and makes the impact you want. It's when you're sharing those things. And
Yeah.
I promise you, no matter what it is, if it is coming from the heart,
The
from
world needs.
your heart, yeah, the world needs it. And it is going to make a huge difference on someone's life, even if you never get to hear what that
Right.
difference is. And hopefully you do. Hopefully you get to hear some of that, because
Right.
that's so great, right?
Lean into your special sauce. What you have and the way that you present it is absolutely important. Worry less about how everybody else is doing it. Even if you feel like, oh, well, I do things similar to so and so, and they've already posted that, like Mia said, like, no, you are building a brand based around your unique qualities, and people are going to cling to that. And before you know it, like, if you don't already have an audience that's in your corner and loves exactly how you do things, I promise you, you will. The more you let people in and see, that unique spark. Nobody wants to follow you because you're doing things like everybody else. So I hope that this pep talk was encouraging, and you wake up tomorrow refreshed and excited to check off your social media to-do list, instead of like intimidated and dragging your feet and dreading putting makeup on. Like, just do it in a way that excites you.
Yep. That's so true. So thank you all so much for listening today. Make sure to subscribe and tune in, because we release these weekly, and you can follow along on our journey, because doing a podcast and all of this is part of our own little journey of connecting with
Yep.
ourselves and, trying to share our magic with the world, because we really want to do this. We feel like what we have to say can help business owners from our experience. And yeah, follow along on the journey, because we're new to it and we're excited to be doing it and have you here. So we will talk to you soon. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye,
Bye.
y'all.